Hi, I'm Randy Altman with Post Perspective. We're here with Geoff and Adrian from SGO. Hello, guys.
Hi, Randy.
Hello.
Good to see you. We are here ahead of the IBC show, which is taking place in Amsterdam, and we just really want to have a conversation about how things have changed for your company over the past few years, how you've adapted to the way that people work. So let's dive in with that.
Sure. Well, clearly the last couple of years has been interesting for most of us, and we've spoken quite a lot about that over these last couple of years. But I think definitely sort of we've had to adapt some of the stuff that we've done. Our customers definitely have adapted some of the stuff that they've been doing as well. And it's nice that we're kind of going back to whatever this new normal is that we want to get back to. So that's obviously encouraging. And actually, the good thing for us over these last couple of years, we've still had a mix of selling, our turnkey Mystica Ultima systems, into places like Japan for doing 8K. We've actually got a lot of 8K systems there now, which is really exciting for us. But also, sort of our software only products have really, again, enabled a lot of people to do what they want to do at a very sort of low cost of entry, whether it's Mystica VR for the VR stitching, whether it's Mystica Boutique for doing the finishing and color grading, and obviously, the exciting new product we have, which is Mystica Workflows, which is really bringing a product that enables anyone who needs to manage their media to give it them sort of a very, very cost-effective way of doing that with all the transcoding, etc., and the delivery process at the end of it as well. So, we've had a lot of fun doing sort of what we've been doing some new stuff as well. And actually, probably the biggest change for us in the last couple of years really has been doing custom development for our customers who actually have specific challenges and want us to help them unlock all of those problems they have to do some pretty cool stuff actually. So yeah, it's been good times.
Can you provide an example of what somebody came to you and needed? You don't have to name names, just a general description.
I guess one of the ones that we can talk about, because unfortunately a lot of these products are, or a lot of these projects rather, are under NDA, which is a little frustrating, but we can understand why that is. But we did something with Sony AXN in Spain where they want to deliver huge amounts of content to a broadcaster or broadcast sort of channel, and it was very much a manual process of handling all these different bits of media and packaging them all up, and then sending them off to be broadcasted in a very efficient way. But because it was a manual hand-holding process, obviously there was lots of issues around making sure everything was correct, and actually introduced quite a lot of errors as well. So we developed a whole new way of them basically taking the media, taking all the assets, all the sort of the metadata they need to do, package it all up, and then just send it off to the broadcaster. And they process, something like, 800-900 bits of content sort of every week using Mystica Workflows with no errors, and only one person checking it every day for an hour or so just to make sure that everything's all running smoothly. So that was a great success for us. And let's say we've just won an award, for that project.
Now, you talked about metadata and workflow efficiencies. Do you want to dig in a little bit more to that? Adrian, do you want to tackle that one?
Sure. The feedback that we are basically getting during these past 2 years is basically focused on workflow more than rather on specific tools like color grading tools or other other creative tools. Everything is related with the workflow, with the pipeline, and in that direction, metadata is basically the glue that connects all the workflow, because it connects all the softwares together with the media. And that information is always important to keep it along across the whole workflow. So keeping that in mind, we basically developed Mystica Workflows, our latest software, to basically read all the metadata from the raw material, for the input media that we get from the cameras, and save that metadata across the whole workflow to the final deliveries. It doesn't matter if you basically goes to ProRes, for example, that has a less support of metadata compared with a raw file, because we basically save all that information, and all that information can be used later during the color grading or the VFX or even a review. It can be used in any other in any department. So talking with customers that basically work with the major networks like Netflix, HBO, Amazon, Disney, etc., the metadata is a crucial part of those pipelines. And we are basically developing a system that is open enough and expandable enough to support all the metadata, no matter the camera that you are using, which is always important because we are finding that right now mixing media is pretty common thing in any production. You don't have like only one camera from one manufacturer. You just mix from RAW with drone footage. Then you have CGI footage. Everything is mixed in any common project. So you need to save all the metadata from all those materials and move that metadata to the whole process. Yeah.
Well, workflows are obviously changing, and a big thing that that people are embracing, and they have embraced over the pandemic, was virtual production, and a lot of different things go into making virtual production. So why don't you guys talk about how you're tackling that, how you're working with customers to make things more efficient in that way?
Yeah, well, in some ways we've been very lucky because Mystic is always been a very agile, sort of bit of software that we can handle sort of, any sort of resolution, frame rate, color space, etc., etc. And I think when we introduced Mystica VR for obviously stitching multiple cameras for that immersive space, obviously the initial thing was about doing everything in a headset, but of course, especially during the pandemic when everyone was more so exploiting sort of virtual production. Now, of course, we're helping create these huge canvases that are completely non-standard, and obviously, introduce huge amounts of challenging about how to get those images in the right format and get those onto those screens, whatever those screens might be. And maybe Adrian can explain a bit more about how we do that.
Yes, yeah. Geoff has mentioned the key point of the whole virtual production workflow, which is that there is no standard, and that's a problem. That's a real problem, not only for us as software developers, but for the users at the end, because they cannot find a proper workflow and a standardized workflow that work in any circumstance. So basically, they need to readapt over and over again every single workflow to work with different sets, basically. So regarding that, there are 2 points that are important from the software perspective. The first one is to have an open software that allows us to switch the direction of the development in a really quick way to adapt to the new standards, because every single day there is a new standard. Well, no standard, a new approach to the virtual productions. In that way, for example, Mystica Ultima and Boutique, because the time and space that we have is really great for that, because we can just add any new functionality as a single node or as a single layer or as a single effect, which allows us to switch really quick the direction of the development. But again, the main crucial part here is because there is no standard, we need to offer quite a lot of options and functionality with the idea of covering most of the approach that there are in the market at this moment. So all the tools that we have developed, custom crops to adapt to the different sets, different formats, different resolutions, different color spaces. We just need to give options at this moment, because we cannot say, okay, use this workflow because this is the one that is being used with the major networks or with any customer. So at this moment, it's just give options to the user.
So what do you see happening with virtual production? I mean, there will eventually be a standard, but I don't know how far we are away from getting there. What do you see coming with virtual production workflows? How can the industry do better at creating standards?
Oh, that's a really good question. Yeah.
From my point of view, I think it's important first to define a color pipeline, which is probably the area that is more defined at this moment, thanks to ACES. So that's a key point in the whole virtual production workflow. The other main aspect is select the right formats to deliver the content. For me, that's the most difficult part at this moment, because you can stitch your content, you can create your 360 or 180 or whatever media you want. But when you need to deliver that content to the set, you need to basically adapt your media to that specific set. So I think the industry will move in the future to some kind of layout system that allows you to adapt your media to the virtual set that you are using. That that part is right now like a critical point in the workflow. And I think somewhere we'll develop something to basically communicate the post-production softwares with the virtual set in order to adapt the content.
Yeah, I think there's one other important thing here, Andy, as well, is that actually what we're seeing is that people are really being very secretive about what they're doing in this space at the moment. They're trying obviously to have a commercial advantage, but obviously a technical advantage. And so I think that's why we're seeing people trying to do some very impressive things that not everybody else is trying. So, but actually what makes it exciting for us, because we get involved in these projects, and hopefully, we're able to give them some real differentiating technology through actually some of the custom development projects we're talking about as well, actually, that actually other people will get to enjoy over time. Not necessarily right now because they're quite bespoke to certain individuals, but certainly the studios all seem to want to try and do their own thing to have that advantage.
Makes perfect sense. Guys, thank you very much for taking the time. Where can people go to find out more about what you're doing?
Always to our website, sgo.es. We keep that regularly updated with the stuff. Obviously, we have because obviously we have all this software that people can download and do an eval trial or whatever they want to do. They can go and play with it as well. So yeah, lots of information on the website, and we've got some cool stuff coming later in the year as well. So watch out for some exciting updates.